Yes, I know exactly how heavy the garbages are. And hey, welcome. It's good to get a chance to make a video. I had a problem with my phones and uploadings and videos being sent to YouTube and a variety of stuff. You know the old saying, when it rains, it pours. So, yeah, and it's been actually, believe it or not, it's been raining last few days. Off and on, we've had snow. We've had all kinds of things going on here in South Dakota. The amazing thing about it is that today was nice, actually. The other day I had it was kind of nice because I had a thing going on outside for a fire pit, and it was nice to see the fire pit. Actually, been a while. With the weather, it seems like no matter what you try to do with the weather, there's always something going on. Like it's raining or snowing or too windy. It's kind of weird having a fire pit because you're always dependent on circumstance. Circumstances have to be right. Timing's got to be right too. Depending on the time of day. So, yeah, I tell you, man, it's South Dakota weather, and I'm sure we're not the only one that gets weird, sporadic weather like this. But man, I'll tell you, it takes a lot of getting used to. Which leads me to my next subject: getting used to things. um, I guess when it comes to life, no matter who you are, what age, or anything else, even your IQ, your sex, your religion, it don't matter. Um, what defines an individual depends on quite a few different things. Number one is, what are you willing? What is your considered an acceptable loss? Uh, in my case, like an example would be an acceptable loss in sleep. How many hours of sleep do I actually require um, to exist, to coexist, to be able to function? Um, and at what degree I need to be at to function? So the whole idea of how many hours of sleep you need. Some people can go like days without eating, and then there's certain other people that have to eat a little bit, like snacking throughout the day. And then there's some people that I have to have 3 square meals a day and then a snack before bedtime. Um, you know, I guess the point I'm trying to make is we all decide the individual makeups of our life. Okay, we all decide what we're willing to do, what we're not willing to do, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And these are things that we use to define our lives. Believe it or not, that also defines our characteristics. It defines our habits. It defines our mentality. What makes us us, mentally us. Um, you know, I think it's kind of odd because what's normal, what's not normal, um, what's average, what's not average, um, what is good looking, what is unattractive. I throw all these phrases out, and the reason why I'm doing that is because, like, for instance, our temperature is like, I don't know, 5 degrees above normal for this time of year. Or you'll hear phrases like, yeah, it's 10 degrees colder today than normal for this time of year. And you know what the ironic thing is your normal or your average or everything else is taken from extremes. Extremes. Okay. Like, for instance, anybody familiar with averages, percentages, and things like that? Okay. For those of you that are not, you take your highest and your lowest number or percentage or whatever, or when dealing with people, the most attractive person that by popularity, and then the most unattractive or whatever person by popularity. And these are all numbers and averages, okay? And you take the best and the worst and you find something in the middle, okay? When it comes to temp, it's all about your high and your low for this day. Your highest high and your highest low. And then you divide it by all these different numbers that you've added together. Like, let's say you add like 10 different numbers together, then you divide it by 10, and that gives you your normal, your average. Okay, and the ironic thing is you may have never ever hit the normal ever in the whole time you calculated, but that's considered your normal or your average number. So it's figured by percentages. It's added up, averaged out, and that's how you get it. Looks are the same way. Okay. What one person might consider attractive, somebody else might look at and say, oh, she's too bony, or her cheeks are too narrow, or she's too tall, or she's too thin, she's too fat, her breasts are too big, her butt's too big. We've all got our own perfect, what we consider what we're looking for in a person when it comes to physical appearance. Well, now here comes the other aspect. Okay, we've covered temps, we've covered numbers, we've covered looks. Now we're going to go to psychologically acceptable. Okay, now we know, everybody knows, the common moral thread is anybody that goes out and kills a bunch of people is considered crazy or insane. It's normal. That is insanity. That is the average thing that you're going to get when you talk to anybody, pretty much. Anybody that goes out and kills a variety of people is considered crazy. Now, anybody that dedicates their life to going around and saving as many people as they can is considered good, godly. They're doing a great service for humanity. What about the people that are trying to save people spiritually or mentally, trying to save them? Are they not heroes too? Trying to help them out to become stronger, mentally speaking, as an individual? Doesn't that make them a better person? Because here you are dedicating your life to trying to help somebody become stronger. Being able to deal with the aspects of life. Wouldn't they be considered heroes too? Because they're self-sacrificing. Now here's the other thing. And you all draw your own conclusions. Isn't that also the role of a parent? Self-sacrifice, devotion to a cause other than yourself. Working towards a greater good, which is to better your children, to give them a bright outlook, to encourage them to a more worthy endeavor, to either be smarter or make more money or, think for others or become a morally speaking, an ethical person. These are all aspects of what people would consider a good parent. in a lot of ways, I would consider them a hero too, because besides just doing something for themselves, what they're trying to do is do something for their offspring. They're trying to do something out of self-sacrifice, devoted to laying down the law with their children so their children can be better people, so their children can teach their children the same ethics, the same guidelines. Um, that would be considered a hero in my book. Unfortunately, in doing so, being a good parent, there is a lot of self-sacrifice, a lot of giving of oneself. Um, and there's no badges, there's no rewards, there's no money, and sometimes you don't even get a thank you. You don't get I appreciate everything you've done, or you don't get, how did your mom and you do it? I'd really like to know so that I can, persevere. I could be more like your mom. Or you don't hear this stuff, okay? And that's the thing. It's not about yourself. It's about what you can do to add to the chain of life to make things better. It's being a hero, laying down your life. Now, you want to talk about religion. All religious figures and icons have done the same thing, okay? It doesn't matter if you're Buddhist, Hinduist, it don't matter. You go all the way through it. Christianity, wow. There's a good one. So, according to the Bible, God gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever shall believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life forever, from now into eternity, the end of eternity. And for those of you that are mathematical wizards, there is no end to eternity. It's forever. That's why it's called life everlasting. From now till the end. No end. Or without end. Depending on what translation you go to. But, and that was self-sacrifice. I mean, that's dedication and devotion, not to just his children, but to everybody that would come thereafter. Um, and I'll tell you, that's not an easy choice to make. I look at my 7 kids and I look at each one and I'm like, if I had to give up one, or if I had to do this so that everybody else would be saved, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. It's not fair to me. I'm selfish and self-centered, and that's the way it is. But long story short, I guess it comes back to the important aspect that is rattling around through everybody's mind. Okay, Tony, what's the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to point out the fact that exceptional things happen all the time. Unfortunately, for all the exceptional things, you don't ever see the light of day for the really, truly exceptional things that happen. It's thankless, okay? And a person has to learn to motivate themselves without recognition and without reward. And they just have to get to the point in their own thought or mind process that, hey, I am doing my best because that's what needs to be done. And it's not easy. It's not an easy choice. We all want to be appreciated for something. We all want to hear a thank you. And when we don't get a thank you, it's like, man, that was rude. They're unappreciated. But here's the thing. Were you really doing it to get some sort of appreciation, or were you doing it? Why were you doing it? Yeah, it's nice to be recognized, but you're not going to get recognized for half the stuff you do. And when you do get recognized, it's usually for the things you do bad. It's like, oh, you screwed up here, or you did that wrong. You could do a million things right, and not get recognized for a single one or appreciated for a single one. But about the time you do something wrong, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb, and people are going to magnify it. Prime example. Yeah, read in the news. You hear about all the bad stuff the police did here, the police did there, or something went down and the police had to do this. You know, let me tell you a little story about something I witnessed the other day. Okay, I'm coming home and it's a blizzard-like conditions and the weather's horrible outside. Okay, and I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. This wasn't that long ago. Okay, I saw a car. Okay, first of all, people are supposed to be on their way home. We're not supposed to be out in this stuff. But somebody had left the gas station not too far from my place and got stuck on this little hill thing. And a police officer and his ride-along had gotten out of their police vehicle, okay? It's snowing, okay? Got out of their vehicle and helped push this vehicle that was stuck up to the corner so they could turn and go straight. Turn at the corner and then head down wherever they needed to go. Okay, you don't hear about that. You don't hear people say, oh, by the way, I had this problem with my vehicle. A police officer stopped by to make sure I was okay. How many times do they do that? A lot. How many times you read or hear about the fact that, hey, the other day I was at the coffee shop, there was a guy acting real shady and everything else, and a police officer came in, and so I started talking to Bob, and I'm like, hey, Bob, it's good to see you, man. And then after talking to Bob for a while, the guy decided it was time for him to leave, and then, you know, I told Bob, I said, hey, Bob, thanks for coming in. It was good to see you tonight. You know, that guy that was in here was acting really weird and strange. I didn't know what was going on. Police officers go in all the time places, okay? But, you know, I don't think they get the appreciation they deserve, okay? They do a lot. How many times did you see them, vehicles in front of you speeding, and then all of a sudden they slow down in front of you, and you're like, oh, they must have a radar detector, or they must have seen a police officer. And you go a block or two, and sure enough, there's a police car. Okay, it's not by coincidence, okay? It's not by accident. All right, and so they didn't have to flip on their sirens, didn't have to pull somebody over, you know. And people get pissed at these saturation patrols where they bust these people that are driving under the influence. They don't have a right to do that. Are you kidding? Did you read the sign on the side of their vehicle? It says, to protect and serve. Okay. They protect the rest of us from people that can't think straight. They protect the rest of us by laying down their life in servitude. Okay. People don't give them enough recognition, okay? They really don't. And I think that people are just so unfair when it comes to the police officers. They always seem to magnify, and the media is part of it, okay? Our media, you know, how many times they go into a building or rescue somebody from a car wreck, or, you know, first on the scenes to direct traffic so somebody who's been in an accident doesn't get hit again, you know? I mean, these guys got a tough job, and they don't get thanked enough. And, you know, just like getting out of a vehicle in the middle of a snowstorm to push somebody up a thing and around. I mean, yeah, they blocked the traffic because obviously this guy wasn't moving too well. They saw their vehicle was stuck, okay? But nobody else was willing to stop and help. You know, it's called going above and beyond. Nobody else driving along this guy was going to help him out. It was snowing out. I'm like, I ain't getting out of my vehicle. It's snowing. It's cold. But here, a couple police officers. No, it says protect and serve. Doesn't say help thy neighbor as thyself. But they did. You know, so I'd like to give a special thanks to all those people that have gone out of their way and done those things in your life where you've been unappreciated. Because whether you realize it or not, someone does notice. Okay. Somebody is keeping track. And I'm a biblical man myself. And I'll tell you, who do you want keeping score? The people around you or God Almighty? Okay. That's my philosophy. As long as God's keeping score, I already know the score is in my favor, regardless of what anybody thinks. As long as I know I'm living the best I can do and I'm doing what's right, as long as God's scoreboard shows me as hitting home runs, I don't really care about the rest of you or what you think. I really don't. I don't care if you guys are like, hey, thanks for giving me a ride, or hey, thanks for picking me up, it was really snow and icy, or hey man, thanks for staying late and helping me out with this, or hey bud, I'd like to say you did a really great job on your teeth, you did a terrific job keeping them clean. Yeah, thanks for doing, taking care of your stuff. Or hey, thanks for, who gives a crap? As long as I'm thankful and I know God's keeping score, hate to say it, you guys are dead in like 80 years. Good luck. I plan on living forever, spiritually. So, I'd much rather have that in alignment and harmony than have to deal with you guys for 80 years. Personally, you're all dead in 80 years as far as I'm concerned. Okay? Your opinion doesn't mean crap to me. But my God Almighty, I'm going to have to deal with for eternity. Okay? His scoreboard means more to me than anything. Alright, that's where my alliance and my allegiance lines me. And yeah, if I'm mad or upset, it doesn't do any good to hold it in. I'm going to tell you about it, especially if it concerns you. Why? Because I would expect you to do the same for me. Okay? If you got a problem with me, I expect you to take it up with me. I might not like what you have to say, but you know what? Hey man, if you got a valid point and you're justified in what you say, then guess what? The problem's at my end, not at yours. So I can't take it personal. And you shouldn't take what I say personal either. If you're taking what I say personal, you're the one with the problem, man. Seriously. You're the person that's got a lot of problems. You've got some issues. You're either way too sensitive or you can't see the light of day. Okay? And either way, it's your issue. I speak the truth in love. And if you're not humble and meek enough to receive it, then it's not my problem. I shouldn't have to sugarcoat things. I shouldn't have to candy coat it. I shouldn't have to say it a particular way because I might offend you. Okay, because you know what? What might offend you might not offend the other person, and I'm not going to go around trying to figure out what will offend you and what won't, or what way to word something and what way won't. I'm not a diplomat. I'm not paid to be a diplomat. I will try to be nice and polite, but if I say something that offends somebody, tough titty, said the kitty, but the milk's still good. Ever heard that before? The truth is the truth. Needs no defense. How about that one? A lie by any other name is still a lie. So would you rather I lied to you? Okay? Think about it. Think long and hard about it. Because you know what? People have said a lot of things about me at work and, said a lot of things about my videos and my channel, but you know what? I'm right. And if they sat there and they thought long and hard about it, the things I say in my video and the things I talk about, they would know that I am right. Because you know what? They have a conscience and they know it to be true. I guess I'm the only one that's got balls enough to say it. Truth doesn't need to be defended. So I don't need to hire a bunch of lawyers. I don't need to make sure I'm politically correct. I don't need to make sure I offend this person or I offend that person, I'm right. And I'm right in God's eyes. And that's all that matters. Sorry. That's all that matters to me. And I can sit there and mean every word. Because I know what the truth is and I know what lies are. There is no shade of grays. Okay? You either did this or you didn't do this. You either can do this or you can't. Why can't you? If you can do it, is it legal or is it illegal? It might be legal now, it might be illegal now. You know, it's still there's no gray areas, man. You can try to rationalize, philosophize, theorize, doesn't matter. It's your eyes and you see it the way you want to see it. But I know the way God sees it. He wrote a book. I've read the book. I've researched the book. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. And believe it or not, I even know why it's right. And I know why things are wrong. God wants you to know, man. That's why I make these videos. To try to make it to where you can understand it so you know. Have a good one. I know I will. It's been a tough week. I'll tell you more about it some other time. Take care for now. And I love you guys. You're the best. Bye.